Welcome to the Wealth Dialogue. I'm Emily.
And I'm Jack.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking apart the core thinking found in a really fascinating set of sources, mainly from the Wealth Dialogue, Mastering the Mindset of Financial Success.
Yeah.
And most people, when they think about getting ahead financially, they focus entirely on one thing.
Earning more.
Earning more, finding a better investment, maybe just, getting lucky.
And look, income is obviously important. It's the foundation. But what the material we're looking at suggests is that it's far from the real differentiator.
Right.
The real shift, the sort of quiet engine that builds wealth over time, is the mindset.
So it's not just what they earn, but how they actually think about money.
Exactly. How they process problems, the framework they use for making big decisions. It's all in the thinking.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to move past the usual hustle advice, the stock tips, and we're going to try to extract those foundational shifts in perspective that really compound over time. And we're starting right at the very beginning.
With the definition of money itself.
So when we say the rich think differently, what does that actually mean on a practical level?
Well, it starts with the fundamental relationship you have with your finances. For most people, when they're faced with money, whether it's a lot or a little, there's an emotional reaction.
Stress,
yeah. They see it as a limit, a finite resource that's always kind of shrinking.
I think that's incredibly relatable. For so many people, money feels like a tightrope walk. You're constantly worried about falling off.
Right.
It's either something you spend right away for a bit of comfort or something you just frantically try to guard.
And that is the core contrast the source material identifies. Most people see money as something to either consume
Or protect.
Exactly. But the wealthy shift that view completely. They see money as a tool.
A tool for what, though? I mean, what's the real difference between protecting your capital and seeing it as a tool?
It all comes down to action. A protective view, it leads to hoarding. It's driven by fear, which means you miss opportunities. But viewing money as a tool changes the main question you ask. The wealthy see money as something to deploy. Their central question is never, how much do I have left? It's always, where should this resource go next to get the most out of it?
That reframing, from protection to deployment, that changes everything about the decision-making process, doesn't it?
It has to.
If you're stuck in that paycheck-to-paycheck mindset, your brain is just focused on this week's bills.
It's a survival.
But if you're focused on deployment, your mind is already on the next strategic move.
Exactly. Rich thinking zooms out. It's not preoccupied with the next paycheck coming in. It's about the next crucial decision that money needs to execute for you.
Which connects to their time horizon.
Inherently. They're operating in years and decades, not weeks and months. Every small decision today is filtered through this lens of, how does this maximize my leverage 3 years from now?
Thinking in years, not weeks. That's got to be tough to maintain when, life is happening right now. The pressure is immediate.
It requires real intention, but it is a trainable skill. And it actually leads us to challenging a really common assumption.
Which is?
That the wealthy are just obsessive savers.
Well, aren't they? That's the advice we hear constantly. Save 10%, save 20%.
They do save, of course. But what they are truly obsessed with is positioning.
Okay, positioning.
Saving, for them, is just the mechanism they use to get into a better position.
Can you break that down, the difference between saving and positioning? Because I think for most of us, those words sound pretty much the same.
Sure. So when most people save, they're in a defensive posture. They save, quote, just in case something goes wrong.
The emergency fund.
The emergency fund, exactly. They're building a buffer to handle a disaster, like losing a job. The goal is just to feel safe.
A defensive cushion.
Yes. But when the wealthy position, the source material, notes they're accumulating capital so they can act when opportunity shows up.
So it's offensive, not defensive.
It's totally offensive. They're gathering ammunition, not just building a bunker. They're creating options that let them deploy that capital when everyone else is, still scrambling to get a loan.
That's a fascinating distinction. Because if my goal is purely safety, I'm probably just going to hold that money in cash.
Low yield accounts, yeah.
But if my goal is positioning to act, it implies I should hold that capital somewhere liquid, somewhere ready to capture an opportunity.
Precisely. The goal shifts from minimizing loss to maximizing optionality. Your cash becomes dry powder for the next investment, not just a safety blanket.
And this forward-looking mindset must completely change how they deal with setbacks. So let's talk about problems. When something goes wrong, a bad investment, a business loss, how does someone with this deployment mindset react?
Well, the first and most critical step is emotional separation. They just don't panic as quickly because they learn to treat problems like data.
Okay, I get the theory, but isn't that a bit of a luxury? I mean, if you just lost a big chunk of your savings, treating it like cold, analytical data feels almost impossible when the anxiety is that high.
That's a fair point, and this is where the mechanism of how they separate becomes so important. They're trained to decouple their identity from the outcome.
So it's about the internal dialogue.
It's all about the internal dialogue. Most people default to this emotional self-defeating story. I'm bad with money, or I made a terrible mistake, so I am a failure.
Right. It becomes about your identity.
It links the decision directly to your personal competence.
So what's the alternative question they're asking?
The analytical question is, what system failed here?
Ah,
By focusing on the system, the process, the checklist, the assumption you made, they externalize the problem.
well, that is a critical shift. It instantly moves you from self-blame to systems analysis. A failure is just input. You fix the machine, you don't. You don't condemn the operator.
Right. It lets them keep that long time horizon because a loss isn't emotionally devastating anymore. It's just information to feed back into the process for next time. It allows for experimentation.
That idea of systems is so powerful. So for you, the listener who wants to stop feeling, condemned by bad decisions and start building that better financial machine, where do you even start?
Well, we've identified 5 really distinct and surprisingly simple shifts that anyone can start implementing. This is where we move from philosophy to application.
Let's do it. What's the first one?
Okay, shift number 1. You have to stop asking the consumption question, which is, can I afford this?
The scarcity question.
The scarcity question, the paycheck cycle question,
Yeah.
and you start asking the deployment question, does this move me forward?
That is powerful because it forces you to categorize everything immediately. A new luxury car might be affordable on paper,
Sure.
but it probably won't move you forward. Whereas a course that teaches you a new skill might feel expensive, but it clearly moves you forward.
It transforms all spending into strategic decision-making. You just put every expense into one of 3 columns: forward motion, maintenance, or consumption. The goal is simple: maximize forward motion.
Excellent. Okay, what's the second practical shift?
Shift 2. Think in systems, not willpower, as we just talked about, relying on motivation or self-control. It's just a flawed model. Motivation is fleeting.
Yeah, if I decide I'm just going to try to save $500 this month and then a stressful week hits.
It's gone. The goal is abandoned.
Exactly.
So rich people build routines and structures that work automatically. It takes the decision-making burden off of them day to day.
So automatic investment transfers, checklists for big purchases.
Even hiring an advisor whose job it is to keep your system running and, frankly, to remove your own emotion from the equation.
Yeah.
The system should manage the money, not your mood.
Consistency. That's the secret to compounding. What's number 3?
The third shift is to focus intently on leverage. Now, most people hear leverage and they just think of debt,
Which is risky.
which can be very risky. The wealthy see money as only one form of leverage. They focus just as much on time, skills, people, and technology.
Focusing on skills and time as leverage. That's fascinating. How does that look in practice?
So the source gives this example of someone early in their career spending a couple of weekends learning a really technical software skill.
Instead of just relaxing.
Right. And that one skill immediately led to a 15% raise and better projects. They traded a little bit of time leverage for huge financial leverage. The question is always, how can I use my existing resources, my network, my knowledge, to magnify my returns?
That really expands the definition of what you have to work with. Okay, what's the 4th mindset shift?
Delay gratification, but, and this is key, do it with intention, not deprivation.
That's an important difference.
It's not about suffering. It's about optimizing your future choices. They wait now so they can choose freely later.
That distinction between intention and deprivation is vital. Because deprivation feels awful. It feels like scarcity. But intention feels strategic. It feels powerful.
That's the psychological hack right there. When you tell yourself, I'm not buying this thing yet because this capital is going to buy back 2 hours of my time every day next year, you feel powerful, not restricted.
And what's the final shift? The 5th one.
The 5th, and maybe the most overlooked, is this: they actively protect their thinking environment.
Their thinking environment.
Yes, it's this intensely intentional curation. They understand that their financial decisions are just the output of their thoughts, and that thinking process can be easily polluted by outside noise.
So this is about carefully choosing the influences you allow in.
Precisely. The books they read, the conversations they have, and most critically, the mentors they listen to. If they spend time with people who only see money through a lens of fear and scarcity, they know their own deployment mindset is going to erode
You are the average of the people you spend the most time with. That applies to your financial philosophy, too.
deeply. And to tie all this together, deployment, positioning, intentional delay, the source material has this fantastic real-life example that shows the power of just one single question.
I love a good anecdote. Let's hear it.
Okay, so it's about someone early in their career who gets a significant, unexpected bonus.
A life-changing amount for them at the time.
Exactly. And of course, the immediate instinct, that weeks, not years, mindset, is to make a big celebratory purchase.
Right. This is where the systems fail. The thought is, I earned it, I deserve it, I'm finally getting that new car, that luxury apartment. The pressure is intense.
It's the default setting, isn't
Yeah.
it? But this person, because they had been protecting their thinking environment, they paused. They called a trusted mentor. And the mentor listened to the whole plan for the lifestyle upgrade and then asked one pivotal question that just completely broke the cycle.
Okay, what was the question that stopped them in their tracks?
The mentor asked, will this purchase impress people or improve your future?
Wow. That's an X-ray question, isn't it? It just cuts through all the impulse, all the vanity, and forces you to look at it objectively.
It immediately forces you back into that lens of positioning and leverage. It redirects the focus from external validation back to internal progress. The person was just stopped cold. They realized the car was all about impressing their friends.
So what did they do instead?
They chose to invest the entire bonus aggressively into their long-term plan.
And the result?
Years later, that one block of capital, just left to compound, had grown exponentially. It paid for their eventual home's down payment and provided the startup capital for a business. That one decision, sparked by one question, bought them so much more than a car ever could have.
That is rich thinking in real life. Same money, same achievement, but completely different thinking drove the outcome. It shows the shift doesn't require millions, it just requires clarity.
A perfect demonstration. A long time horizon will always beat short-term gratification when it's guided by the right questions.
So, reflecting on the major theme here, you don't just become financially successful by wishing for it. Your money doesn't change overnight, but your thinking can.
And when your thinking changes, your behavior inevitably follows.
When you adopt deployment over consumption, positioning over protection, systems over willpower, it all falls into place.
That's really the key takeaway from all this. Wealth starts quietly. It almost never begins with a massive windfall.
Yeah.
It usually starts with one better decision, filtered through a clearer mindset.
And since we just heard how vital it is to actively protect your thinking environment, your books, your mentors, we'll leave you with a final thought to chew on. What is the single most important book, mentor, or conversation that's influencing your current financial decisions right now? And critically, is that influence moving you forward, or is it holding you back?